Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. I have a couple of minutes, so I thought I'd do a quick Q&A. We haven't done one of those in quite a while. So these are questions that people wrote in via YouTube channel or email or letters that I get. So I'll try to do the best I can. I don't have the answers to all these, but I'll try to be as quick as I can. Dark Crimson writes, I study Tang Sudo. Any advice on opening a full-time school? Dak, yes, you can open a full-time school. Anyone can do that, but it's very, very difficult. It's very different than a training club. The first thing I would recommend, we've had our school here for well over 12 years, full-time, every day. But that's very, very different than a club where you don't have the overhead of employees or rent and different types of insurances and all this stuff, water, heat, all this stuff that's going to come up. So the first thing you need is capital. If you're going to open a school, you're going to need a lot of capital. Some people would take out a business loan. So if it's something you want to do in the future, make sure your credit score is good. Make sure you're working 2, maybe even 3 jobs to save up money for your dream. It is possible. I've done it, and I have a handful of friends that have done it. But I also have way more friends that have tried to open a school and it's failed. Now, as we know, failure is part of success, and it's natural to fail. But I'd rather try to get it right the first time rather than fail multiple times. And I've actually had people that have owned several dojos that have collapsed and have thought that that was a good thing. But you don't want to fail if you don't have to. So the preparatory stage is the most important. And it's so much more than just your skill level, your age, all this. It has to do with, can you run a business? Can you budget and things like that? Because you're going to be living on a shoestring budget for a long, long time until you build up enough clientele. If you're going to open a full-time school, again, I don't want to crush your dream or anything. It can happen, but it's extremely difficult. Most businesses close within the first couple of years. But the first thing you need to do is save money, clean up your credit score. If you want to get a loan, work on that, work on your education. Do some research in your area. Is your school, so it says here you do Tang Sudo, so make sure there aren't 5 other Tang Sudo schools where you live. You might have to relocate. I had to relocate here to Mason because there was another martial art similar to ours up in Dayton. So you have to know your the dynamics of your area. You don't want to have 5 Taekwondo schools right around competing with each other. Make sure that your niche, your school that you teach, is unique and that's going to attract the people in your neighborhood. Most people, as we know, do not train at a dojo because they love the style. Most people are ignorant to martial arts styles and the differences. They just think it's all karate, it's all Taekwondo. They have no idea how many different styles there are and what their specialities are. Most people train at a school simply because it's close to their home, and that's just the fact. So in order to attract people, you have to be unique and different, and you have to brand yourself and be something that's going to stick out and make people want to travel dozens or even hundreds of miles to come and train at your school. But you can do it. Start maybe with a training club. In other words, get a clientele that might be your friends or close people that want to train with you. Then you might start charging them a little bit per month to rent out an old warehouse or something with no commercial front signage or anything. And then you might want to build up your clientele from there. If you just take out a business loan and you open a nice, beautiful facility like we have in a strip mall or something, well, there's going to be many, many, many months where you're going to have 0 students or 2 or 3 or 5, and then 3 out of the 5 are going to quit for whatever reason. And you're going to be losing money left and right. So you have to have a lot of capital in the background that's working for you until you can build your clientele. And you must have a social media presence. You don't want to be one of those schools where they log onto your website, you haven't had a picture update in 3 years, or it's some old tournament from 3 years ago with these gaudy colors on your website. You have to have video, you have to be plugged into Facebook and Instagram and all these things, because that's what the young people expect nowadays. But good luck to you, Dak. I really hope that your dream comes true. It might take you 10 years, but start planning now and it will come true. Here's another question that attaches to this. Can you make a decent living from teaching martial arts? The answer is yes. Very few do. my primary source of income is not this school, it's my music. So I've been doing music for, gosh, 30 years now, and I have 30-something CDs out there. So my music that I've created over the decades allows me enough financial freedom that I can run a school. So if you have a full-time school, again, expect to live on bologna sandwiches for a long time, unless you're fortunate enough to have wealth in your family, or you inherit something, or you get a huge business loan. But yes, you can make ends meet. It is difficult. Again, I know several people that own a school that, have a small house. Most of us that do martial arts don't care about the almighty dollar, so it doesn't matter to us if we're not making a lot of money. The worst thing you want to do is want to be rich and want to be wealthy and start to figure out how to suck the money out of your students. How can I get another dime out of Billy or something? That's a bad way to go through martial arts. And we know people out there that have what we call Mick dojos that are just out to get money for your belt, and they'll give you whatever you want as long as you pay that tuition. You don't want to have a school like that because you lose integrity and the martial art gets watered down, etc. But yes, you can make a living at martial arts. It's possible. Fujimoto 12 asks, how do you get over the fear of failure? That's a good question. You don't. I don't think you do, because you're always afraid of failing. I think that's just a human emotion. It's very natural. We tend to be our own worst critic, as I'm sure you are to yourself. I am to myself. So, you hear your own voice, you cringe. You see your own videos, you cringe. You see your own paintings, you cringe. But I think what's scarier than failing is not even trying. So if we go back to Dak's question about he wants to open a full-time school, well, by all means try. Life is so short. Take the chance. Take the risk. As long as your risk doesn't involve other people that you're going to ruin financially or something like that. But if it's up to you, gosh, take the risk. So fear of failure is natural. As I said before, we are all going to fail no matter what we try. And that goes for relationships and things too. You don't know if you're going to fail half the time because when you're in the middle of something, you can't see your own mistakes. That's why it's easier for a third person to look in on your situation and say, you have to do this and that. That's what therapy's for. That's what a therapist does. Or if you're in a bad marriage, you don't see how bad you're acting to your wife or vice versa. Well, you have that best friend that will tell it like it is. And she's like, no, you're doing this wrong and she's doing that wrong. And so you need a third person perspective. But yeah, I feel failure all the time. I think that's natural. That's what keeps you motivated. That's what makes you be self-critical. That's what makes you want to keep going. But I think it's worse not to try. So I think it's natural to fear failure, but just know failure is the flip side of success, and you can't have success without some sort of failure. Do you ever get noticed on the street from your YouTube channel? No, our channel is very small. Our school is small. We only have like a little over 7,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, so fame is not anything that interests me. I get more noticed for my music than anything else. Yeah, we have 10 or so DVDs out there and stuff, but no one stops you on the street. They don't know who the heck I am. They don't care to, and nor do I. So no, I don't get noticed on the street, and I love that anonymity. Can you imagine being someone so famous that they can't even leave their house, or they're bombarded? You see how they get so depressed because they're stuck in their beautiful houses. They have no friends, and they can't even go shopping at the store without being mobbed. I would think that's a terrible life to live. So anonymity is fantastic. It's cool to get your autograph once in a while, or someone wants a selfie with you, but I wouldn't want that every day, would you? I think that would be a terrible, terrible existence. Let's go on to the next one. P-Dink, I noticed on your fast sword video, you could have been hit by the opponent at the 4-minute mark. What if you moved left instead of right before the third cut? That might be better. This is one of those questions you get sometimes where people are just watching what you're doing, what you're teaching, and they see flaws in what you're doing, which is natural. I respect people's opinion on things like that if they are actively training or they have a school or they're teachers in themselves. You have to understand, whenever we do a video or you see any video on YouTube, a person's motive is one thing. I am there teaching something, and I know that, yes, the guy could move left and I could be hit here, but my more important purpose is showing the principle of what I'm teaching, not the what-if questions. You get those in the martial arts a lot. You get a new guy who's so excited about training. He's a white belt. He has no experience. He's like, well, I know we're supposed to do this, sensei, but what if he does that? And what if he does this? And what if she does that? And what if he takes you down? What if he pulls out a gun or a knife? And these what-if questions come later. They're not to be discouraged because they are showing that there's passion there. But you can't ask what if you haven't even built your alphabet yet. You can't ask how to write poetry when you don't know the letter A yet. And when you're watching videos, it's very, very easy when you're watching to say, well, he could have done this and she could have done that. I know there's a million scenarios that could have been better, and we all can see holes in things. We can see where we weren't protected some way, but that wasn't the point of what you were watching. So everybody's an armchair critic, but how many of these critics actually have experience? How many have full-time schools? How many of you have hundreds of students? So you have to give the teacher a bit of the benefit of the doubt. He or she usually knows, yes, you could have moved here. Yes, he had very little resistance there. Yes, it was kind of a sophomoric attack there. He could have been quicker there, or the sword. We don't know all these factors. So those what-if questions, I tell the students, kind of keep that for later. Learn the basics. Learn the fundamentals. Then ask the what-if questions after you've done the repetition 1,000 times. Then we'll start to deviate from the structure and the kata in itself. I don't see the practicality of rolling around on the mats. Nobody can roll out of a throw up to their feet. Not true. I don't know who wrote that. It's just a question. Rolling on the mats is extremely important. That's what martial arts is about. Now, rolling is two different things. Are you talking rolling as in jiu-jitsu, rolling on the mat? That's one good skill to have. And another type of rolling is what we call ukemi. It's part of a large umbrella, but ukemi, coming from ukedo, to receive, is how you receive the ground so you don't get injured. And to me, that's an unbelievably important skill in martial arts. So if your school is not doing ukemi, you're missing out a huge benefit. How many of us have slipped in the snow? What's the first thing you do when you slip? You put your hand out and you break your wrist or your hip or your knee or your elbow, or you smash your head and you're down and out. And how many of us are embarrassed when we fall? We make sure no one's looking. You know, I hope my neighbor didn't see me fall down the stairs. So you have to know how to receive the ground with skill, and it takes muscle memory. It's not something you can read in a book or watch. You have to practice it hundreds and thousands of times to get good at falling. And yes, you want, part of self-defense is how I absorb attacks. When someone's punching me, can I be just out of reach of distance? Or can I get hit but absorb 50% of the power of the blow? Or can I notice that timing out of the corner of my eye where I can shift my shoulder and make a shield? Or if I do get tripped, how do I fall to the ground and know how to tuck my chin so I don't smash my head and get whiplash? How do I curl my back so that my spine doesn't get injured, or so I don't break my elbow? And when you're out in the wet mud and the bloody battlefield, you better know how to roll and get back up to your feet, or you're dead. You're going to be stabbed by a spear. All this stuff comes into play, and most of it is about self-preservation. I don't want to injure myself. I don't want to break a hip and be in the hospital. I want to learn how to make the ground my friend and how to absorb it. So rolling, you are incorrect completely, is an important skill in martial arts, and it should be added in every dojo. As well as rolling as in sparring on the ground with jiu-jitsu or whatever it is, putting some resistances and having your friend not always give you the move. You have to fight for position. That's also another form of rolling that I agree with. However, well, it's another talk. All right, next question. Dizzy Jenny 98. Dizzy Jenny. What is the scariest hand-to-hand weapon out there? I don't know. At distance, it would be a gun. But any person who trains in firearms, we know that it's very hard to hit a target at 10, even 20 yards. Very difficult. You're so scared, you're going to miss half your shots. How many YouTube videos have we seen with police officers missing 8 out of 10 shots? It's scary. It's hard. Hand-to-hand combat, though, was the question. I think a knife is the scariest of all. You know, a club we can deal with if you get hit, a pipe or something. But a knife, ooh. The best defense with a knife is to run. And I don't care what people say, it's extremely hard even to talk about knife defense techniques. Anyone who's worked in corrections or who works at a prison knows how quick it is for someone to shiv you 10 times before you can blink. And forget about, retraction and stuff, and forget about catching them in some fancy grapple. No, it's not going to happen. That knife is almost always going to be right here, and they're just going to be jabbing you. There are many things you can do to up your odds of survival, and you have to train for that. It's, again, not something you can watch on YouTube. You have to get on the floor and have someone with a knife trying to stab you and learn the timing, the distancing, how to capture not the knife but the person that's holding it, how to hit the person, all kinds of things you can learn, where to get cut so it's not lethal, and how to turn your body and protect your blood vessels and things, how to use footwork to get distance, how to turn and run, how to mentally engage with the opponent, try to calm them down, give them what they want so that they don't stab you, or if they brandish a knife, how to just kick them if you can. There's a million different things, but a knife is scary. I think a sword is actually easier because it's heavy. I have a sword here. A sword is, it's a 3-foot razor blade, but it's heavy, it's bulky. Once you swing it, it takes time to redirect. Easier to see, impossible to conceal. So in my opinion, a knife is probably the scariest. But everyone has a different opinion. Ron in New Mexico writes, I like your dojo style because you actually do a lot of striking and kicking versus just throws or joint locks. Too many soft Bujinkan dojos out there who would get wrecked in an actual fight. Well, we're not a Bujinkan dojo. I have ranking in the Bujinkan as well as several other martial arts, but we are not technically a Bujinkan dojo, although I have many friends and teachers in that style, and I love that style. But you're right. We do a lot of striking, and I see a lot of videos online and demonstrations where there's a lot of balance taking and maneuvers to take the opponent to the ground, but there's not a lot of striking, not a lot of kicking, not a lot of powerful old-style Budo, and there's a lot of people don't address, well, what happens when you throw the guy to the ground? Now what? So there's no even ground curriculum in their dojo, so they assume they're so arrogant that once you knock the guy to the ground, you've won. No, the fight has just begun when the guy goes to the ground. Now he's angry. You might have broken something. He's going to get right back up. Again, brandish that knife, pull out a pistol, whatever. You have to address the entire circle of a fight. From the Ishin, the Mushin, the Zanshin, everything has to be in there. And a lot of that has to do with what your dojo is teaching. Is it just teaching you how to take someone down and take their balance? That's not enough. You have to learn how to pummel the opponent, how to beat them down so that they don't want to fight you anymore. You have to learn how to resist. And this punching and kicking, what's happened is in the Bujinkan, is Hatsumi is elderly. He's 88, 89 years old. So the newbies, the people what I call after the year 2000 that are coming into the system, are seeing an elderly Hatsumi. They're copying his style, which you can't copy. And they're becoming too soft because he doesn't hit anymore, really. He's old. So he'll do high-level manipulations and stuff, but the students think that's how I should train. And then what happens is they get in a real fight and they get their butts handed to them because some guy who lifts weights in the military, just the guy tries to do some finger maneuver, he pulls that out, punches you in the face before you can blink because you don't even know how to get hit because you don't train with sparring or anything, so you get hit. The guy's shocked. He thought all of this cool ninja stuff would work, and all of a sudden you're being grappled on the ground, and the guy's beating you, or he's on the mount just elbowing you in the face. You don't know how to take that because you've never done ground training. It's a delusion. And our dojo is specifically designed to kill that delusion. We want to make it realistic. No, we're not perfect. No dojo is. But we address this stuff all the time, off camera. What happens here? What if the guy does this? Those what-if questions. No, you better hit here. You better hit solid to that solar plexus, or that guy's going to come in here. We address that left and right. We are our own biggest critics. And yes, a lot of the Budo has been lost. It's too soft. We used to beat the hell out of each other in the 1980s. It was just vicious. I've had 2 back surgeries because we would throw each other in judo throws into a cement wall. We were dumb. We didn't have nice mats like we have here. You would train on wood floors. You would do ukemi, up and down gym floors, 300 feet, over and over again. You would punch trees. I'm not kidding you. We would just go full contact with each other in our younger, dumber days. Hatsumi did the same. I remember being at seminars with Hatsumi. He would hit me so hard with a boshiken 2-3 times under the jaw, and I'd be red for 4 days. And I couldn't feel my tongue for a while. But if you start when someone is elderly and you're watching them, you're going to want to mimic the sensei out of respect, and you're going to lose all of that ground training that you need. There are times in your life where you do need hard training, and that's usually when you're younger and your body can take it. As you get into your 40s and 50s, if you are consistent, well, you start to get rid of strength and speed. You don't need that anymore because you have finesse, you have precision, you have really good timing and distancing. You don't need the strength. And we know as you get older, strength goes away, speed goes away, looks go away. All of it. It's meant to go into the law of entropy. Nothing can stay forever. When you're elderly, you become really good at martial arts. Of course, you're past your peak. You don't have the strength. You don't have the flexibility or anything, but you can still maneuver someone with such precision that you can get results. Not perfect. But you are right. This is a very, very important thing to my heart because we have to balance safety with good training. And you are going to fight how you train. So if you train and get all offended and hit and you go home and you cry and you quit, I don't want you in my dojo because you are not a warrior. You are just someone that's not meant for martial arts. Go do something else. What will happen after Soke Hatsumi dies? Masaki Hatsumi is the 34th generation Grandmaster of Togakure Ryu and 9 traditions. I don't know if you can see him. He's right there in the yellow shirt. We were in Japan last summer. He's 88, 89 years old. Yes, he will die soon. There's no shame to talk about death. It's not morbid to talk about death. Matter of fact, in America, people get afraid of talking about death. They sweep it under the rug. We need to talk about death because we're all going to go through it. None of us are getting out of here alive, right? I don't know what's going to happen to him. I have asked my senior teachers, and they all say the same thing, that once he is gone, the Bujinkan will explode and splinter, and all of these big egos will come out and create their own styles. But that's nothing unique. Every martial art has done that. Every single one. If that wasn't true, you would have one lineage. Well, why do the lineages branch off? Because people die, and people want power, people want fame, people want money. So back, I'm talking the 1500s, 1400s, all of these schools, once the father dies and the son gets the scroll, well, maybe the cousin wants the scroll, so he kills the son and takes the lineage. It's no different now. When Hatsumi goes, the thing will explode, and he may point another grandmaster, another soke of the tradition. Doesn't matter, it'll be a figurehead. It may be where people will splinter and come back after a while because they want part of that lineage, but most of people's egos are too big. All of these Dai Shihan that are just waiting, biding their time so that they can get some fame. Again, that's no different. Pick your martial art, karate, Taekwondo. Gosh, I hear stories left and right about how this Taekwondo school wasn't part of this organization, and they're fighting with this organization from Korea, and they demand that you get more trophies for this school or you're going to lose funding from the organization. So what happens is they get mad, they splinter off. It's just human nature to do that. Everything's a bush, it's a tree, it branches off. And judo, aikido, Gracie, jiu-jitsu, MMA, that, you know, it's all going to branch off into their own style. And it's natural. I don't think it's anything to fight too much. I just hope that people treat each other with respect when he goes, and they treat his lineage and what he did for ninjutsu. I hope that they don't forget his role in it. What year did you begin studying ninjutsu? 1980. I was 10 years old. Started, and of course back then there was no internet. You only had books. So I would have to travel at age 13, 14, 15 to seminars, get on a plane at age 16, drive 1,000 miles for a 3-day seminar to get 2 pages of notes, and then you go back and train. No dojos back then. You had to go train with a friend or a tree or whatever. You had to make up your own training partners because there weren't many. The information was so sparse. But yeah, age 10 I started, and I've been going ever since. Let's see. Did you see the new Star Wars trailer? Did you see it? Are the sword fights good in the Star Wars movies? I did see the new trailer. Movies. I grew up with the first Star Wars, or I don't know what they're called now, like 4, 5, 6 or something. But I grew up and saw the original at the movies. I don't know how old I was young. Saw Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi and all those. So that was my heyday. So these new movies they've lost their luster for me because it's a whole new generation. I don't like the way, to be honest, this is an opinion about a movie, so it means nothing to anybody. I don't like the way they're treating the old ranks, like Luke and Leia, what happened with their arc, and Han Solo. I understand they're trying to get rid of them to bring in a new generation. I respect that. But I would have written it differently. And in some cases, I think I as a non-writer, I think I could have written a better script. But it's for the new generation. I think it's entertaining. No, the sword scenes aren't realistic. They never were. They're lightsabers, so it's all imagination. But no, they're not real because it doesn't film well. A sword fight. If you have a sword here, and you're filming, you're Spielberg or whoever, Lucas, you need to make the moves big for the camera. You need to make the moves faster than normal. You need to clash a lot, which gives a dramatic tension. Not like real kenjutsu, where you want to use one possible stroke to remove the opponent's kote, the wrist. One possible ski strike to stab the opponent in the throat. The most impressive sword fights I see in movies are the ones with the least amount of clashing and the most footwork. But they're boring looking. My favorite sword fight ever, a lot of you have seen this, is from the movie The Seven Samurai. A boring movie, 3 hours long, but some of it was really brilliant. And one of these scenes was, it's a battle between 2 samurai, and you have the little samurai and his challenger, and they end up dueling, and they're in their good kamae, and the bad guy comes in with a Daijodan cut, and the other guy just moves slightly to the right and cuts him down. This is with a bokken, a wooden sword. And then foolishly they go back, and the bad guy's like, no, and he throws his wooden sword, and he gets a real metal one, and the samurai's like, don't do this, I don't want to kill you. And the guy's like, no, you're dead, and he pulls out a real sword, and of course the samurai draws his. He's like, if you want this, okay, it's your life. But the guy does the same stupid movement. They both start, and the guy comes down on the same downward Daijodan cut. And what does the little guy do with his real sword? He sidesteps and cuts him down, one cut, kesagiri, Guy goes down and is dead. Well, what's the moral of that story? Don't challenge someone on the street. Don't do the same attack twice. But my point is, it's a boring looking fight scene, but for someone who does martial arts all his life, that was the best scene I've ever seen. Because it's quick and precise and it's over. The guy didn't even break a sweat. He was so precise in his timing and his distancing. Killed the guy with the last 2 inches, the Kasaki of the sword. Guy went right down. That's brilliant. That's 30,000 hours of sword training in the cornfield and another 10,000 in the dojo to get that precise. But it wouldn't look well on film. You see Luke and Darth Vader clashing. You're like, oh, look at that sound and the light and everything. It's so dramatic. So yes, Star Wars fight scenes are fantasy. They're supposed to be. And I like them. But the new movie, it looks good. I don't go to the movies much, so I probably won't see it till it comes out on Hulu or Budo or whatever. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be okay. What do you believe is the number one reason people quit martial arts? Well, you've asked the right person because I've had a full-time school for a long time. Number one reason is almost always fear. Now, fear you can break down. Most people later on admit why they quit. I was scared of something. I was afraid of my own. I didn't believe in myself, so it's a confidence issue, even in adults, big adults, strong adults. Has nothing to do with confidence. The people that I think are going to last forever are the first ones to quit. The big, muscular, young, bulky guys that come in, after about a month, it's too hard and they quit because they've never been really, truly tested. They can lift weights and appear to be very strong, but on the inside, they didn't have the grit that it took. Most of the time, the people that get high ranks are the ones that you don't expect to stick around. You're like, oh, that guy will be gone in a week. No, 10 years later, they're still here. They have something inside that is so powerfully enduring, which is the meaning of the nin symbol. They are a real warrior. They don't look the part. They look small and everything. Doesn't matter. They have a heart of a warrior. And no matter what you throw at them and how many tests they fail, they continue to get up and keep going. And those are the ones that will carry the lineage and be the school owners of the future because they have been through it all. But getting back to the reason why people quit, it's almost always fear. Arrogance. Because we are in a society where people have technology and they're growing up watching other people live their lives in a 2D screen. Back in the old days, you had to drive to the dojo and get your butt handed to you and go back the next day 1,000 times. Nowadays, everyone's an expert, right? Everyone on the internet is a keyboard expert. They haven't had any physical experience, but most of them are really good at typing and commenting because they've seen movies. They've read the comic books, so they know better than we who are full-time school owners. So what happens is they build up this fantasy in their mind, and then some of them are brave enough to go to a dojo, it doesn't matter the style, and they take a class, and then they leave. The class was not what they expected. They expected some sort of Yoda and Luke and floating on pillows and creating bars of gold and floating in the clouds and all this stuff. And it's not how it is. It's hard, consistent work. There's no shortcut to mastery. There's no secret. If there was, I would have bought it, bottled it, and sold it 10 years ago. But most people quit because they don't know how to commit. It's sad. I talk to so many people younger than myself that are going through the same thing in life. And I really believe the technology and the social media, all this stuff is really affecting the younger people out there. I think you'll agree with me. Some of them don't even want to leave the house anymore. They are literally afraid. They have agoraphobia. They can't look someone in the eye. They don't know how to interview for a job. They don't like to be challenged, and they do not like to fail. They're so hard on themselves mentally that they think if I fail, I can't do it. But the whole point of success, as you know as well as I, is to keep going and fighting your way over those bad humps in life, those bad days. There is no secret. But it takes fortitude and mental toughness to do this. And if you're always used to living in your comfort zone and imagining the way it's going to be, the world will eat you up and spit you out. It will drop you like a hot potato. And you have to be one of the few that gets up off your butt and keeps going. So the reason people fail and quit is because they fail themselves. It's not the system that's failing them, because there are hundreds of students that stay, and if you're the one that quits, you can't blame the school, can't blame the teacher. It's you. It's you who can't adapt to the system and find the fun in it and all this. You get bored too easily. God, you get bored with martial arts. I don't want you in my school. Go do something else. I want people who are passionate and excited about training. Heck, I get up at 6 in the morning and I can't wait to get to the dojo. And there are other reasons, legitimate reasons why people quit, but don't use them as excuses. There's a fine line between, if you can't afford the training, to me that's an excuse, get another job. That's what my father would tell me, that's what my uncle would tell me, that's what my sensei would tell me. But there are reasons. You might have 3 kids and you can't afford it. That's different. You might have to move. Your job takes you away. That's a legitimate reason to quit the training. You get injured. Everybody gets injured, but don't use that as an excuse and lie to your sensei and say, oh, I pulled my knee because you don't want to train anymore because you had a hard class last week, because you got punched in the nose by Bill. Believe me, teachers know when you're lying to them. They know when you're giving them excuses, and then they know when you're being sincere. But I'm not interested in the... Although I just went on a spiel about that, I'm more interested in the people who are here now. If you quit my particular dojo, goodbye, I don't care. I have to focus on the people who are here. And doesn't mean I'm mad at you or I don't like you or anything. I'm not going to give you a big hug at Walmart. If I see you, you'll be embarrassed for sure. That's always how it is. People totally regret that they quit. They hate it that they quit. It drives them insane because they see their friends going ahead of them. So now you have that competition that's coming out. But I'm not going to be mad if someone quits. But don't expect my attention. Don't expect me to continue to email you left and right, because I have to focus on the people who are here. I have hundreds of students who want my attention. I cannot focus on the one who has quit. But remember, the path will always welcome you back. The door is revolving. If you leave, you are always welcome back, at least in this dojo. So if you have quit, go back. Eric the Viking, does being a bigger guy help you in martial arts? How often do you use your strength in your teachings as an option? That's a good question. Yes, being stronger helps. Being taller helps. Being bigger helps. That's why they have weight classes in every sport you can imagine. Don't let someone lie to you. And I have a good friend who's in BJJ. He's really good, and I've rolled with him, and he has a lot of trouble tapping me out because of my size, my weight. And before that, he's like, oh, I can tap you out quick. I'm like, oh, you think so? When I put all of my weight on you, you're going to have a heck of a time even moving me. And that's sure enough, that's true. So yes, we train for all sizes of people. And yes, if you are a heavier person and you get on top of someone, they're going to have a heck of a time moving you. Of course, it's possible, because if you're a small person, you're short, you have advantages of going underneath the attack. You're quicker, you're more wiry, you're usually faster. If you're a stronger person, you're usually much stronger. You're not as fast, but you have the weight class advantage, which is huge. If someone 90 pounds gives me a kick to my leg, it's going to hurt. It could break my knee. But if I kick you with my leg, it's going to break your knee every time because of the mass behind it. You can't fight physics. So if you're a female out there, you have to use that to your advantage. You're not going to be as strong, but you can be more intelligent and a better fighter in many different ways. So don't let your size, your weight, your age discourage you from training. This martial art that I do is open to everybody. And we have students from 6 to 70 something, and they all get huge benefits from this. Because this martial art relies on intelligent angling and distancing, you do not need strength, you do not need speed, because those are lower forms of self-protection, and they go away over time. But yes, of course being bigger helps. Of course it helps. But it's not the end-all be-all of things, because small people can win too, Davy and Goliath, etc. Now, I don't use strength in my training often because I realize that strength... Do you guys out there, the older guys, remember the movie The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson? I think it was the second one. Yeah, the second one. Remember that car he had, that cool, I don't know if it was a Dodge Charger or something. Amazing black car in the desert, right, of Australia. Remember when he was about to get, someone was chasing him and they almost caught up to him, they're really close, they're going to ram him off the road, and he flicks the switch, kind of gives a wink to his dog in the back seat, flicks the switch, and this nitro, whatever, glycerin engine just powers in and the belts roll, and he just goes like 100 miles an hour, and you see the guy spread out. That's an advantage that he had in his car, kind of a secret weapon. Well, that's what strength is to me in martial arts. I try never to use my size, my strength, my height to my advantage, because I consider that a lower form of self-defense. If I can do a technique with no strength and no speed, that means I'm really getting it. Because what I find is students will overcompensate with speed and strength because they don't have either the time on the mat, the wisdom, they don't have the experience, they don't have the wherewithal for safety, so they go back to their lizard brain forms of self-defense, which is pure machismo, pure muscle, pure strength. Those are a reserve, and on the street we are going to let those kick in naturally. Your adrenaline is going to make you way stronger, it's going to make you way faster. When you get cut, it's going to keep you going through that fight. But you should never train with strength and speed. Now, I'm contradicting something, and there's a deeper meaning to this, which I'll go over in another video, after a certain level. Yeah, you're going to want, when you're 20 years old, you're going to want to punch and hit harder, and that's okay. But the highest level of martial arts is when you can use finesse, timing, distancing, just the right amount of speed and strength, positioning to get the job done, maximum results, minimum effort. And that's not just this martial art, it's just about all of them. Now, if you're doing a sport martial art like MMA or something, you go into a ring, you better be strong, you better be fast, because it's not like a long-term martial art, it's a quick thing. But you even notice the Gracie brothers, who are getting more and more finesse. They don't have to roll like they did 20 years ago, because they know how to relax, they know how to let the opponent do all the work for them. So as they get older, they get better and better. That's the goal. You want to be like a fine wine. You don't want to be some stinky, lightweight beer. Okay. Hoax writes, thank you for sharing this video of your journey and all of the other amazing videos showing the Dojo Spirited Training Hall. I am a Shidoshi Ho with a small group of 2 regulars still pushing to be worthy of the rank I've been given. Very good, humility. Many days I feel like a white belt. Me too. I know that if I train well with the right attitude, someday I will become a colleague of the amazing Bujinkan Budoka out there. Gambate kudasai. Gambate kudasai to you too. Hoax, it's a nice thing to say. I think your heart's in the right place. We are all white belts, every one of us. Yes, I'm a teacher, but 99.9% I'd rather be a student, because every single day I learn something, every single day. So how can you assume you're a master if you always continue to learn? You know how I hate that word mastery. You are always continuing to learn. It sounds like you're a really good person. You stay humble. You have a small training group. Hopefully it grows. And I'm really happy that our small channel, however many subscribers, I'm happy with the small channel we have. We put out some good stuff. And then we put out some stuff that, probably shouldn't be out there. But I get letters and emails all the time from people that it's helping. So that's our goal. Believe me, we're not getting a lot of students from this because most 99% of people live so far away they can't come and train with us, but they do get benefit. And they take the teachings that I'm teaching or someone else and they bring it back to their dojo and their training group and they work with it. And if it works, they keep it. If it doesn't, they discard it. So I thank you for taking the small things that we're doing and putting them in your training group. And the best of luck to you. Best of luck. I hope it continues for you. Matthew Hunyadi writes, I believe everyone should know a martial art of some type of self-defense. I completely agree. A white belt is better than someone who sits on the couch. Let me say that again. A white belt is a higher rank than someone who sits on the couch. So I don't care what the martial art is. We are all comrades. We are all trying to better ourselves. If you have the guts to go to a school and get your uniform and get your white belt and continue for month after month, my hat's off to you. Style irregardless. Because, again, you're not allowing your fear to overtake and make you quit. You are enduring, and that's what the martial spirit's all about. The friendships and bonds that are built through martial arts are like no other. I agree. Whatever martial art people love or are passionate about, they should let nothing stop them from training or practicing the art. Thank you, Sensei, for all of your videos and motivational posts. Thank you, Matthew. I completely agree with you. The Budo, the friendships that we build are lifelong. Some of my best friends in the world who I would trust my life with are the ones that I throw punches with and roll on the ground with. I completely agree with you, and I think people should study martial arts. It's so beneficial. And this will be the last thing. I'll get out of your life. Again, it doesn't matter. It matters. The style matters to me. I found the best martial art in the world, which is ninjutsu. That's my opinion. You'll disagree, many of you. I have ranks in many different styles. Not one of them has even come close to the all-encompassing aspect of this particular Budo. This particular Budo has everything I've ever wanted since I was 8 years old. It has the strikes. It has the kicks. It has the joint manipulation. It has the cool throws. It has the sacrifice drops. It has the rolling on the ground, so it has the ground fighting. It has every weapon you can imagine in it. It has the mental and mind science training to it, which is completely overlooked by most of the sport arts. It has such depth to it. But I didn't know that when I was stepping in the puddle of other martial arts. I was walking thinking, this is great. And then when I fell into Budo, I drowned in the entire immensity of its scope. Then I did a martial art for 25 years, which I still have high respect for, but I saw that that wasn't even as deep as the one I'm doing now. So how do we know what we're doing is good until we experience other things? It's like a fish in a bowl. It doesn't know what's outside the bowl. But if you drop that fish into the ocean, it'll probably die of shock because there's, well, not the salt water, but it's so big, so vast. So my point, which is Matthew's as well, is some training is better than none. You cannot talk your way out of a fist fight. It's not going to work. And if you don't have the muscle memory, you will get beaten. You will be in the hospital or killed. One of the reasons I train is to increase my odds of survival, and that's it. I don't say I'm guaranteed to win any fight, but it's a heck of a lot better from someone who doesn't train at all and thinks and assumes that they know. They have no experience. It's all theoretical. The greatest phrase, I think it was Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson said, every guy has a plan till he gets punched in the nose. That's so accurate. We all have these delusions of grandeur that I'll be the warrior that can't be hit, and No, as soon as you get hit in the nose, it all goes out the window. And then it's all about how many thousands of hours you've had on the mat. In my opinion, you need 30,000 hours to call yourself really good at something. Not 5, not 100, 30,000 hours. That's a lot of mat time. That's decades. So don't assume you know it after 2 years. You do not. And remain a white belt forever. I don't wear my black belt 90% of the time. And it's a symbol to my students. It just holds my pants up. That's all it's doing. It's holding the gi shut. Has nothing to do with my rank. I am still learning every single day. I still see how bad I am at certain martial art moves. I see some talent in me, but I also see the fat little kid, and I try to work through those issues, as we all do. At the same time, I've had massive amounts of success in certain areas of my life, and I've had unbelievable low points and failures that you can't even imagine. So why am I still here? It's not for that stuff. It's not for this stuff. It's not for that. It is for this. And when I was 8 years old and I saw my first Shokosugi movie in the 1980s, and before that in the 1970s, when I was just a little kid and I saw David Carradine in Kung Fu, and I saw my first Bruce Lee movie, and you who are younger might have seen your first John Wick movie or your first Jason Bourne movie. Whatever it is, pursue your dream. Follow the way of the sword. It's so fulfilling. It is a life well lived. So that, my friends, is the end of my rant. Forgive me. I can go on and on. I'm passionate. But I have work to do. I wish you the best in your training. Continue your training with whomever and wherever you are. We appreciate you watching our channel. Our little humble channel is up to nearly 1 million views. Can you believe that? It's incredible to me. So make sure you like and subscribe, all that crap, and push the little bell. We all know that, to make sure you see our videos. But just have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.